Today, we're diving deep into the frustrating, often confusing, and sometimes infuriating world of passive aggressive behavior in the workplace. Specifically, we're going to explore the psychology of passive aggression, why your coworkers do it. If you've ever felt that subtle sting of an indirect jab, the frustration of unclear communication, or the silent treatment that speaks volumes, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. My goal today is not just to complain about it, but to arm you with a deeper understanding so you can navigate these challenging interactions with more clarity and less stress. So, what exactly is passive aggression? At its core, it's a way of expressing negative feelings indirectly instead of directly. Think about it. Aggression that is passive. It's a smokescreen for underlying hostility, resistance, or anger. Instead of saying, I'm upset about this, a passive aggressive person might procrastinate on a task, make sarcastic remarks veiled as jokes, or agree to something verbally, but then subtly undermine it. From a psychological standpoint, this behavior often stems from an inability or unwillingness to express anger or frustration openly. And there are many reasons for this. It could be due to upbringing. Perhaps they were taught that direct anger is unacceptable, or that conflict is always bad. It could be a learned coping mechanism from past environments where direct communication led to punishment or negative consequences. Some individuals simply lack the communication skills to articulate their needs or feelings assertively. They might not even be consciously aware of the passive aggressive nature of their actions, genuinely believing they are being helpful or fine. Now let's get into the evidence-based information. Psychologists often categorize passive-aggressive behavior as a defensive mechanism. It allows the individual to avoid the discomfort of direct confrontation while still expressing their displeasure. Dr. Robert Bramson, in his work on managing difficult people, identifies indirect expressions of hostility as a hallmark of passive-aggressive individuals. It's a way to maintain a facade of compliance or politeness, while internally they're resisting or resenting. One key psychological insight comes from attachment theory. Individuals with insecure attachment styles, particularly avoidant or anxious preoccupied, might be more prone to passive aggressive tendencies. Someone with an avoidant style might withdraw or stonewall rather than engage in direct conflict, fearing emotional intimacy or vulnerability. An anxious, preoccupied individual might use subtle manipulations or guilt trips to get their needs met, rather than direct requests due to a fear of rejection. This isn't an excuse for their behavior, but it helps us understand the underlying drivers. Another important piece of evidence-based insight comes from the concept of cognitive distortions. Passive-aggressive individuals often engage in distortions like mind reading, assuming they know what others are thinking without checking, or catastrophizing, believing that direct confrontation will lead to catastrophic outcomes. They might also engage in should statements, believing others should know what they want without being told, leading to resentment when those unspoken expectations aren't met. For example, imagine a coworker who resents having to help with a project outside their immediate duties. Instead of saying, I have too much on my plate, they might agree to help, but then submit sloppy work, miss deadlines, or subtly criticize the project's direction. Their actions speak louder than their lack of words, but in a way that avoids direct responsibility for their negative feelings. This aligns with the work of Dr. Albert Ellis, who emphasized how irrational beliefs fuel emotional and behavioral problems. From a neuroscience perspective, when someone feels threatened or perceives a conflict, their amygdala, the brain's fear center, can become highly active. For individuals who have learned to associate direct confrontation with negative outcomes, their brains might instinctively steer them towards less direct, more safe forms of aggression, even if these methods are ultimately less effective and more damaging to relationships in the long run. It's a protection mechanism, albeit a maladaptive one in a professional setting. Furthermore, a lack of self-awareness plays a significant role. Many passive-aggressive individuals are genuinely unaware of the impact their behavior has on others. They might see themselves as simply being polite, avoiding drama, or just having a bit of fun with their sarcastic comments. They may interpret others' frustration as an overreaction rather than a legitimate response to their indirect hostility. This is supported by research in emotional intelligence, which highlights self-awareness as a crucial component for healthy interpersonal relationships. So, why does this matter to you? Understanding the psychological underpinnings of passive aggression isn't about excusing the behavior, but about gaining perspective. When you recognize that their actions often stem from fear, poor coping skills, or a lack of self-awareness, it can help you depersonalize the situation. It shifts your focus from "why are they doing this to me?" to "what's driving this behavior and how can I respond effectively?" In our next video, we'll dive into actionable strategies for dealing with passive-aggressive coworkers. Armed with this psychological understanding, you'll be much better equipped. Make sure to like, subscribe, and grab my free leadership workbook, 5 Steps to Communicate with Calm, Clarity, and Confidence at powerofpeacefulness.com. Until next time, take a deep breath, embrace the present moment, and keep walking your path to peace.